Welcome to the World F3 Championship live on Apex Racing TV. I'm Sam Fitzpatrick. Alongside me today is Lee Thompson with Sam Kume on the cameras. And Lee, I'm delighted to have you alongside me today. Your first meeting in this series. And I think you'll find that it's usually provides really good racing, very competitive at the front of the field. I'm sure you'll notice lots of the names from your World Championship Grand Prix days, and should be good fun around this Imola circuit today.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Yeah, it's I'm looking forward to it. As you say, it almost looks like I'm watching a WCS race. Looking through the names: Ilbrink, Simpson, Ellis, Berryman, Halliburton, Rasmussen. It's all these top guys that, as you say, I've seen for a long time, either in WCS type of circles or elsewhere. And how these guys are going to fare today in this, what is reportedly a really tricky F3 car around what I find one of the trickiest circuits on iRacing. Imola is just so punishing on the curbs and the bumps. And I reckon these aero-heavy cars as well can be very interesting for a couple of the quicker chicanes.
Yeah, absolutely. Just at the start of qualifying currently, and these drivers will have 15 minutes to set a good lap time. And you can see poor Ilbing right now, maybe just leaving himself a little bit of a gap. Half surprised he's not trying to pick up a slipstream from the driver ahead. And he'll just about be starting his lap time. Currently, Peter Bayman on pole position, with Ilbing in second and Evdoka in third. And of course, this circuit, as you said, Lee, provides many difficulties for the drivers. That turn one in particular on the opening lap can cause a lot of issues. Do you expect maybe the drivers to take a little bit of caution down there, or do you think we could see a few incidents?
Well, I certainly think the guys out there have got the experience to know that they need to, just play a slightly patient game. I mean, we've got half-hour-long races, not like they're a real sprint race. Are they going to actually apply that? Are they going to use all that experience and that knowledge they've got? I reckon we're going to see a big instant in either race one or race two at the start. As you say, going into that first chicane, it's going to be tricky. I mean, it's not the biggest of fields here, 15 cars, but I think the guys are going to be right in amongst it. It's going to be a really tight grid as we see them working their way through qualifying at the minute. It's already looking pretty tight between the top 5 cars. 3 tenths of a second, 3 and a bit tenths between first and fifth. It's going to be tight out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see in the championship it has spread out a little bit after his early season dominance. Peter Berryman leads by over 100 points. Teammate Kevin Ellis. Then in third position is Paul Ilbrink with Nicholas Rasmussen in fourth. And Alex Simpson running out the top five. But we've seen some very strong drives from the likes of Lockwood and Namela, and also Alsop as well, I believe, winning a race, and so too Kane Halliburton. So don't expect it to be an Apex Racing UK runaway here. It should be extremely competitive with all these different teams involved in today's race. And we'll also be interested to see what downforce trims these drivers have been running. I know Tyler took us through a lot of the downforce elements earlier on in the season. Of course, that rear wing. Fortunately for us commentators, we can kind of see how much rear wing these drivers are running, because it actually changes visually on iRacing. So keep an eye out on that. And of course, in one sense, you want to have the absolute maximum lap time lead, but in another sense, you kind of want to run a little bit less wing so you can actually get the moves done. Otherwise, particularly around a circuit like Imola, you can kind of just get stuck behind the same driver for 5, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a super tricky place for guys to try and make those moves, as you say. It's really only going to be the start finish straight, as we're looking at here, that they've got the real opportunity to get that top speed. It'll be interesting, if there's much of like an ebb and flow between qualifying a race where, well, like I say, perhaps the guys are going more downforce heavy in qualifying, where they're just trying to get the ultimate lap time, versus the differences maybe as they try and trim it out ready for the race, and who's going to be maybe more aggressive at who's going to be less. And again, we could see some variation going into the race perhaps. I think, as you say, to get moves done around this place with this caliber of drivers in this car, it's going to be a lot of elbowing to get by. And so any little advantage, like I say, that bit less rear wing, for sure it's going to make a difference. But I mean, this is a challenging circuit. I've seen few races around here last season in different series, and survival might just might just get you the strong result anyway. So maybe going heavy downforce and just making sure you've got a planted, secure car that's not going to bite you at every opportunity. Maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah, perhaps. And yeah, so far, majority of the drives kind of running medium downforce, I'd say, from what I've seen at least. And of course, the rear wing doesn't tell you absolutely everything. There are other elements, of course, but it gives you an indication at least what the mindset of the drivers is. As a Kane Halliburton, who's been on a strong run of form, I certainly know that he won race one at Road America, I want to say. And yeah, he's had a good upturn in form. Currently only eighth on the grid, but he's only 6/10 of a second off pole position. This field has really kind of closed in on one another since the early stages, where it seemed like a couple of the drivers were running away with it. Richard Alsop, currently good qualifying for him. Can he jump into the 35s? Yes, he can. Jumps up into
Wow.
pole position as well. 1.5 tenths clear of Peter Bayman. And yeah, that's a really good sign, I must say. Currently, the Racing Network, Apex Racing UK, Racing Network, Apex Racing UK. So yeah, great to see. Clearly, we've got two very competitive teams today, along with Radicals Online. I'm sure Nicholas Rasmussen will also be challenging as well.
Yeah, just Paul Ilbrink there in fifth, ruining that little pattern, as then we've got Kevin Evans Jr. behind for Apex Racing UK again, and that would have continued that very nicely. Yeah, so essentially, you reckon lots of medium downforce cars that you're seeing, then Sam. So, for instance, we're looking at Brian Lockwood now. For someone a bit more new to the F3 car like myself, what do you reckon to that rear wing on there? Then is that medium?
That's maybe a little bit more than medium, maybe slightly closer to high downforce. I remember one of the cars, I think, at Road America, Monza, apologies, can actually see the rear wing. It was that thin, and I have to run
Wow.
pretty low graphics settings, so I can actually see it, unfortunately. That was yeah, that was very quite extreme for that drive. I think that was Nicholas Rasmussen actually running that one. So I don't know if he's maybe gone for the same mentality. And you can see, yeah, that one's a little bit thinner. By I don't know. Maybe I need to go to Specsavers or something to get my eyes sorted out. But to me, at
It
least,
seems like you
that
have a
looks a little
better
bit
eye than
thinner.
me.
Yes.
I
But
just see I just see two rear wings on the same car. So yeah, if you tell me that's less, I'll take your word for it, mate. Not a problem. So yeah, Paul Rasmussen, Nicholas Rasmussen here. Sorry, not on a hot lap at the minute. I don't think he had a green sector 2, but oh no, he's still on it. He's just not been lighting up the timing screens in the end of a lap. So we'll see how he finishes this off as he comes onto the front straight.
yeah, currently in seventh position. And Monza was probably his strongest round of the season, of course, 2 weeks ago, because we missed last week due to week 13, had a week's break. And Rasmussen on that lap did improve, but he didn't improve on his position. So he's still nearly a tenth off Paul Ilbrink. Of course, you look at the drivers ahead of him, and well, they're not poor quality drivers. Of course, Ilbrink, former World Championship driver, Simpson is a current World Championship driver, and also Bayman and Ellis are as well. Of course, Lockwood and Alsop are very strong as well. What can Ilbrink do? Currently in sixth as he crosses the line, and in fact, he can't improve that time either. So drivers seemingly just reaching their peak, and perhaps the track temperature could be making a tiny difference. I realise it's only a couple of degrees, but up to 40 degrees track temperature now. And as these drivers drive around the circuit, and as the time progresses, we could see that rise a little bit, which could hinder these drivers' opportunities to move up the grid.
Yeah, we're certainly seeing green sectors from the guys though, so it looks like they had the opportunity to maybe improve their laps, but maybe just not quite able to string it together. So, is it going to take just one driver to suddenly hook that lap together and make a little jump up? We're seeing a purple sector, even sector 5 from Kevin Ayers Jr. Last time by. So yeah, so who knows whether we will see any further improvements? We can see a few guys on outlaps, Alsop, Ellis, and Halliburton. They're all showing as on an outlap themselves. So there's certainly opportunities for changes still ahead.
Yeah, of course, these drivers have an unlimited amount of laps they can have. This is a group session. Basically, everyone's on circuit at the same time. Unlike the solo sessions where you're completely by yourself, that's when you have to limit the lap times. But these drivers can do as many as they like. That's Alex Simpson just taking that slightly wider line down the pit straight. He wants to generate as much speed as possible before crossing the line as going through turn one now, and that seems relatively neat and tidy, just running a little bit wide. And fortunately for him, that F3 car has high downforce to power ratio. Turn 3 can be quite simple. Paul Ilbrink moves himself up into 5th position. And Peter Bayman improves on his lap time, I believe, but he's still only in 3rd position because Brian Lockwood and Richard Alsop are currently locking out the front row for the Racing Network and really going all guns blazing in this qualifying session. Usually, it's Peter who can usually just muscle out a really quick lap time, but it's not looking too strong for him at the moment with just 2 minutes of this session to go.
Yeah, and just 200ths of a second down on that second position. I don't know if Samuli can bring up a track map for us, but I wonder whether the teammates are trying to work together in this open session, like you're saying. We've got any little pairings that are trying to give each other the draft. Doesn't really look like it. Cars 6 and 7 looking pretty close, but no, seven's disappeared up the road now. So yeah, it doesn't really look like there's any coordination going on. Of course, it's going to be a sacrifice on one lap for the lead car because they're only really going to be able to be of use down the front straight, I guess. But yeah, everyone's just running in a bit of clear air. It looks like.
Of
Thank
course,
you, Samuli.
we've always seen the famous Italian team trying that tactic at Monza over the years, and I don't think I've ever seen it work. Apart from last year, where they accidentally got the wrong driver on pole position through that method. So it's not necessarily the
Ah,
best tactic. As Alex Simpson has a bit of an off, and he's planning still on setting one more lap time, I assume. Otherwise, he would have just escaped back to the pits. But can he really generate enough speed before crossing the line? It's certainly not a great start to the lap for him. You can see how much faster Nicholas Rasmussen is. And on this long run down into turn one, could lose potentially, just a tenth of a second, which could, spell disaster for Simpson and end his chances of improving. Or keep an eye out on his first sector timers. Just goes a little bit deep again, I'd say, into turn one, but once again, pretty neat and tidy. But well, he's going to need something quite spectacular for the rest of the lap, but he's already 1/10 down compared to his personal best lap in this first sector.
so Berriman, yeah, I was just going to say, Peter Berriman has jumped the two Racing Network cars, Allsop and Lockwood, to take pole position, provisional pole position rather, by a whole hundredth of a second, and he is now left back to pit lane. So that looks like Berriman has done all he can. Seeing Richard Alsop still out on track in that second position at a minute, so will he be able to improve? We've not got very long to find out, but yeah, Berriman ruining that lockout for Racing Network for now.
Yeah,
And
seemingly as
how was the start of Simpson aborted his lap, by the way.
ah, Rasmussen trying to improve, and clearly he feels as though he can improve because he's going right to the pit wall. And did he jump any positions there? It was a personal best lap time, at least. He's in 7th place ahead of Halliburton. Halliburton a little bit out of sorts. Like I said, only 6/10 of a second off pole position, though. This is certainly the closest the pack have been so far this season. Ellis comes across the line and he can't improve. So, comes down to Richard Alsop, who's had to abort his lap time, so it does look as though Peter Bowman's going to be on pole position unless Miles Clotesy can perhaps produce the surprise, I think, of a lifetime here. No offense to Miles or anything, because if he can, 12th position certainly is not a bad effort whatsoever, and he has been improving significantly this season, and he proves once again. Just a reference, that's within 2 seconds of the pole position in a car which is difficult to set up and an incredibly difficult circuit as well. So it just shows even the drivers near the back of this field are extremely competitive. And Michael Evdoka, a driver who quite regularly fights for World GT race wins, down in 10th position. So incredible competitiveness through this season. It's great to see so many of these top drivers sticking with this car and sticking with this championship. And it's, I think, going to produce an awesome race. The top 5 separated by less than a quarter of a second. I think Ilbrink, has he just crossed the line again? He didn't improve. at least did Port Ilbrink. So he'll be starting in 5th position as we just wait for the clock to tick down, and then we'll be able to start this race. And we'll be interested to see how the team element works, I guess, because of course, you know, you got the 2 Racing Network drivers in 2nd and 3rd. Is there any tactics that maybe they could employ to try to maybe make their challenge against Peter Bayman a little stronger? I think we just lost Lee for a second, but no worries, because we are about to go onto the grid now. Giles will have a couple of minutes to grid up, so we should have enough time for this reading through the names. Peter Bayman on pole position once again. He's dominated pole position so far this season. And once again, he gets that position by just 6/1000ths of a second over Richard Alsop and his teammate Brian Lockwood. Kevin Ellis starts in 4th position with Paul Ilbrink in 5th. Alex Simpson starts in 6th place with Nicholas Rasmussen in 7th. Certainly watch out for Kane Halliburton starting down in 8th with Davey Witzball's a strong showing in 9th, only 6/10 off pole position. That's a very good effort from him. Michael Evdotka starts in 10th with Trevor Clement in 11th. It's Mark Clatesy in 12th with Paul Gosling in 13th. And then hopefully Matt Bunn and Josh Rayfield will take the grid, but I'm not entirely sure that they will. And yeah, we will very soon be getting underway here at Imola. Just got a couple more drivers to get onto the grid. Don't like to name anyone, but Paul Ilbrink and Miles Clotesley, get your asses onto the grid, because we want to get this one underway. Very warm conditions here, 41 degrees track temperature. So it's going to be quite a struggle for these drivers potentially. Tyres shouldn't be much of an issue. But around this rear limited circuit, maybe could see some issues for drivers. And glad to say we have got Matt Bunn and Josh Rayfield on the grid. So we will have a 15-car grid. As you can see, Miles Clotesley just pops onto the grid, called upon expertly by myself. And we are about to get underway for meeting 6 of the season. Peter Bayman from the pole position. And away we go here at Imola. And it's a really good start for Bayman, easing himself ahead of Alsop. Lockwood is still in 3rd place. Is there going to be any challenge from P2 going into turn 1? Ellis trying to go round the outside. This would be an awesome move up into 3rd position. And yes, that is fantastic from Kevin Ellis. As an awesome move into the rostrum positions. Just behind Paul Ilbrink now trying to challenge Brian Lockwood, who looked at ease going through turn 1, or going into turn 1 at least. Now he's under big pressure, but just about resists that attack for now. Here comes Ilbrink though. He feels as though this is his only chance at maybe making the move. But he thinks better of it. Simpson very close on his tail. Halliburton's managed to get past Rasmussen, and Bunn has got past Gosling. Those are the positions so far, so not too much change early on. Simpson looking to the inside of Ilbrink. These two have been battling along for the entire season, seemingly. They've absolutely had an awesome rivalry, which did come to blows, I believe, at Monza, or maybe the round before that, not quite sure. But so far, the racing between those has usually been absolutely fantastic. And yeah, so pretty much the status quo through these first few corners. As you can see, Bayman under big pressure from Alsop, but Ellis might be able to help out his teammate if he can get the move done on Richard. And look how close this is, going into the Rivatsas. Will he look to the inside, Ellis? Incredibly close between the rear wing of the Racing Network driver and the front wing of the Apex Racing UK driver. But they got it all sorted out in the end. Less than 3/10 of a second, the gap between the top two. You might see a move here. It's all action in these early stages. We've also got Ilbrink and Simpson going alongside, but we'll concentrate with this for now, because here comes Alsop. Fantastic overspeed. Goes to the outside onto lap 2 of the race, and he might just have the better braking performance as well. Bayman just about cuts him off, and that's a nice defensive move. But Alsop isn't going to give up yet, as Ellis gets the best run out of all 3 of them, going into a Villeneuve chicane. But Alsop holds on for now. And yeah, absolutely fantastic batting early on, as Ilbrink just loses out to Simpson, and he's going to lose out to a couple of other drivers as well.
I missed the first lap. I can't believe it. Good old internet. So yeah, what a frantic end of a lap that certainly was, and looks like they mostly survived through lap 1, so that's good. But as you say, super close to second go between Alsop, Ellis, and Simpson Ilbrink through the first chicane there. as Ilbrick now right in the middle of that Sense Motorsports sandwich, just trying to work his way back forward through the pack.
Yeah, so yeah, quite a disappointing start for him, considering that he was trying to overtake Brian Lockwood for fourth position just a couple of minutes to go, but yeah, far down the order now. Alsop versus Ellis, really close now, and that's a really good run for Ellis. I don't know how he's got the run out to that corner. Traditionally, an impossible corner to follow around, but he's eased ahead of the Racing Network driver, and these two really losing each other a potential win
Ooh,
as Ellis really gets a tank slap, but then another
and
one.
again.
And it's really compromised in the end. Alsop, Lockwood is going to have an awesome run here. It might just be better for him to stay in position. Alsop, oh no, and the two
Oh!
teammates make contact, and Alsop has gone spinning off into the gravel. He's surely out of the race, and I cannot believe that the two teammates have made contact in that fashion.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the replay. And from my angle, it looked like Allsop just went into the back of Ellis, but was it contact from his teammate behind? It'll be good to see that again. And they were right on cue, Samuli provides. So here we go, they're on board with Richard Allsop. We're going to see him, yeah, close right up into the back of Ellis on the exit. And then that draft takes him all the way in. And where does the actual contact come from? Yeah, so from
There
that
was
angle, it just looked like it was from Ellis ahead. Does
I think there was a little bit behind. If we could just get a replay from Lockwood's perspective, I thought there was initially contact ahead, and that just checked him up into his teammate. But we'll see
it looked
here.
super close, so it could well be the case. Yeah, difficult to tell from that angle, but yeah, you could well be right. So they certainly speared off at a sharp old angle. So they really did concertina together there, and lucky just for the one car really to end up in the wall. But unfortunate for Alsop there as Brian Lockwood all over the back still of Kevin Ellis Jr. as they come out of that tricky chicane at the top of the hill, and Lockwood running up alongside. He's going to have the outside line for this next left-hander though, and can Ellis get it stopped? Okay, oh, Lockwood trying to get on that power as early as he can. Rear steps out and loses the opportunity to get run down the front straight.
Yeah, they all seem to be struggling with the rear end currently. Certainly, as maybe just heating up his tyres at the end of that last lap. You can see Simpson closing in on these guys a bit. In fact, on that last lap, Simpson... Oh, he's just gone to get some point. He was slow on that lap. So, forget about that. But he's pulling away from the drivers behind, because look at this. Rasmussen now moving ahead of Halliburton. It's that he might just be defending, I think, from Halliburton there. And yeah, nice battle between these two. Witterbold's doing well to keep up. Ilbrink trying to come back. Docker and Clermont for Pitstye TechSense Motorsports staying pretty near the tail of the top 10. And Matt Bunn having a decent run as well. He's up 3 positions so far into 11th place and is only about 4.5 seconds behind this battle we are watching. Very close between
Yep.
Ellis and Lockwood, so.
Yep. Just about to say the same. Actually, absolutely. I can see Lockwood closing to within a tenth and a half of Ellis as they come down the back of the circuit there. But say no immediate opportunity for a move for Lockwood, but he's looking pretty strong. We saw Ellis manage to get the run a
Oh,
minute ago, but
sorry,
he's certainly not
Halliburton
managed
with
to
an
pull
issue,
away.
I think.
Yeah, Halliburton out. So that's our.
Oh, now
Oh, and
Lockwood's
Lockwood
dropped
spins
it.
again. Traction issues again, as you say, just desperate to get any opportunity he can to close on Ellis, and the rear tyres just couldn't cope with it. So that's Lockwood all the way down into 8th position, and that gives Berryman and Ellis a clear run at the front, top 3 Apex Racing UK.
Yeah, I've been saying so far this season, just waiting for that top, yeah, that podium lockout. I think today is going to be the day maybe where they finally get it. Here, this is what happened to Halliburton just before, and it looks as though it's going to be a self-spin. Runs a bit wide there, but no issues. And then into Aqua Minerale. Does he get a tap from behind? Yes, he does. Oh, and another rather larger tap, and well, he wasn't keen on that, was Kane. Straight into the wall. That contact was with Witzbols, I believe. So Witzbols has also lost out. So he's down into 9th. Still going about his way. So it means that Evdoka and Clermont are now up into 6th and 7th. That's no offense to those guys, not through overtaking. I don't think they've overtaken anyone so far in this race, but just issues for other drivers. Matt Bunn, just as I was promoting his good drive, he has a bit of a spin by himself, I believe.
Yeah, and it looks like the race is just settling down for a moment as our timing screen basically goes all white. All the battles settled down. We're looking at a second and a half gap between pretty much all of the drivers in the top 7 positions. Shout out for Josh Rayfield as well, having the unenviable position of being the only non-A class or WCS class rated driver out there with his very strong B4.14 rating. But yeah, up there in 12th position.
Yeah, I can't even remember what
Oh,
I
as
am
he
to.
as he struggles over the end of a curb there and just about hangs onto it. So vicious the curbs here around Imola, and especially in these stiff single seats. We just see how much he's really having to be cautious over those curbs. But we've seen how much other cars have struggled, and again, just making sure you survive and bring the car home is probably going to bring you a fairly sensible result, I guess. We're only 8 minutes into this 30-minute race.
Yeah, I can't say that well, I can say I'm slightly better than Josh because I'm 4.59. So I got a fractionally better safety rating than him. As Bun has to come to the pits, these drivers, they do get a fast pass. I frantically check. Yes, they get one fast pass, so Bun will take that. And we'll be back on his way. Of course, we will have a reverse grid. Is he speeding the pit lane? Not quite sure. But yeah, we will have a. Oh, what is going on with Matt there? I'm not sure if he knows how he's on camera. Maybe expecting to be on camera. But there he is. We'll get a fast fair, like I said, and hopefully we'll see him back out there because yeah, we got a reverse grid later on. You got to finish, I believe, on the lead lap to be eligible for that reverse grid. I think the smallest it can be is 12, if I'm not incorrect. So yeah, so pretty much as long as you finish, you should be eligible for it. And so certainly worth finishing the race by any means possible. Seems like Halliburton is out of the race, but Alsop is still going about his way. He's only half a lap off the lead, actually, is Richard, despite having to come into the pits and take a new car. Bun's still in the pits, so it seems like his day is, or his race one at least, is over. As we see Lockwood closing in on Clermont, and well, this should be pretty simple, seeing that Lockwood ought to be fighting for second position right now.
Yeah, he was only 3 tenths quicker last time by, so it may not be super easy for him, but for sure he's going to want to try and pull himself back towards the top 5, and he's not going to quite be close enough into turn 1 this time round. But yeah, you can see the two Tech Sense cars both ahead of him. He's got a great run through that chicane. He's almost going to have a sniff as they head into Villeneuve on this lap, but he's not quite going to be close enough. There's no braking zone into that first part. All the braking really is done in the middle of a chicane, ready for the second apex there. So he's going to have to just bide his time for now. But he can see, he can see a potential 6th position in a not too distant future.
Yeah, we've got, of course, half an hour long race, so only 1/3 into it as he looks down the inside. Yeah, into that corner. I can't remember. It sounds like Piatella. That's how I remember it, but it's not called that. This is Acqua
Yeah,
Minerale. I certainly know that.
yeah,
I will get
Peritella, yeah,
Piatella. There you go. Yeah.
yeah.
As
My
yeah.
trusty track maps, yeah, doing me good.
Yes. Always forget to load one of them up. As Clement, he's just about holding on at the moment, but he's under big pressure. I think a little bit of air damage for Lockwood, or he's in the rev limiter because we heard some rather bad engine noises going down the pit straight last time. As he looks to the inside, he asked, "Can I come through?" And Trevor accepts his yeah invitation and and he goes through there. Only 2.5 seconds to catch up to Michael Docker. He might catch up to Paul Ilbrink by the end of this race, but that might be a bit too far for him. Maybe even Nicholas Rasmussen. 6.5 seconds up the road is Rasmussen as Clermont. Is he going to come back at him here?
Wow.
Very deep on the brakes is Lockwood, and he just about defends. But that's the yeah, that's the aero damage I think that he's picked up.
Yeah, that was quite an overspeed that Clement got there coming down the front straight. Surprised me how much of an overlap he managed to get, but in the end, he couldn't quite complete the move. Josh Rayfield a minute ago moved up from 12th into 11th, just getting ahead of Miles. Help me out with the surname, Chaz. Oh, right on cue as Rayfield lets me down and spins in front of Miles there and comes back to not yet 12th position. We see the effect of the tyre model as well. Is he's cooked the rear tyre, tries to get going again, and the rear tyre just doesn't have any of it at all. Instantly overheated, and spins him again. But yeah, Klutzlil hangs on to 11th position thanks to that spin.
Yeah, up to 42 degrees now, the track temperature, 25 air temperature. I've pronounced Miles' names as Clotesley. I'm not sure if
Klutzlil, yeah, I
that's
like that.
correct,
Yeah, it
but
looks good. It looks
it
good.
looks about right. Of
I
course,
might
Miles.
I might go for Miles.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
That might be my safe option for me. So looking at the time screen, Nicholas Rasmussen is looking
Oh
as
dear.
Rayfield, I think, is now done. Rasmussen has got close company from Paul Ilbrink, fourth and fifth position, just half a second between the two of them. So that is looking like our only battle currently on circuit. Everyone else 2.5 seconds more apart. But yeah, Ilbrink last time by was wow, good chunk quicker, 8 tenths quicker than Rasmussen. So I wonder if Rasmussen just had a bad lap or if he's got a slight issue. But for sure, Ilbrink is looking a lot quicker.
Yeah, Ilbing ought to be a bit fast, seeing they had that spin earlier on, whereas Rasmussen, Mr. Consistent in this series. I frantically checked to see where he is in the championship. Well, he's up in fourth position, actually. That shows how consistent he's been. No disrespect to Nicholas or anything, but he's rarely within half a second of the fastest Joe. Hasn't really fought for a race win so far this season, unlike a lot of other Joes like Ilbrink. Of course, so narrowly missed out on the race 2 win at Monza, I believe, missed out by a couple of hundredths of a second. But yeah, just through that consistency, Rasmussen is in fourth. And Ilbrink himself has been relatively consistent as well. He's now in third position in the championship. So it just runs a little bit wide, trying to use that tarmac on the outside of the circuit, but at the same time trying not to pick up a slowdown. Always a difficult corner to execute just right. And, well, we'll see if that Radicals Online car maybe has a little bit less downforce, and maybe that will help him to drag himself closer going into turn one, because he's now pretty much in passing range, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw how much of a difference in previous battle between Clement and Lockwood. So Ilbrink certainly is going to be within a sniff. How defensive is Rasmussen going to go? Not there is the answer. He's just going to allow Ilbrink the inside, and I dare say he's going to break a little bit early and just allow the manoeuvre to happen. He does. So yeah, maybe Nicholas Rasmussen, from what you're saying, Sam, taking the Sam Fitzpatrick view on racing for a championship.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm hoping that I got a whole tactic now named after me. Of winning no races in a 36 race season and still winning the championship. As of Doc, oh, and Lockwood going down the inside. Well, I think that's a pretty fair enough move, but kind of scared Michael off the circuit, if anything, and or at least off the racing line. And who goes Bryant? So he's now got 6 seconds to catch up to Rasmussen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he was. Yeah, I think he's closed in by a couple of seconds in the last 10 minutes or so since his spin. And of course, he was fighting for second position in this race. But you can see with kind of small niggling mistakes like that, he's not going to catch up to the driver currently sitting in fifth position anytime soon. And actually, Rasmussen getting a bit of a slipstream from Ilbrink. Also got Clement having an issue. Usually he's Mr. Consistent as well, but he's made a mistake and allows Witter bowls back past.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen so many unforced errors in this race, mostly as we've seen on traction, and how much of it is pure traction, rear temperatures, and how much of it is the car not settling after coming off the curbs. Maybe we'll have to see from the guys later on. But yeah, we're seeing a huge amount of these unforced errors, and for sure it's looking like a tough place for these guys out on circuit in Imola. Paul Ilbrink still under pretty close watch from Nicholas Rasmussen, so he certainly didn't disappear off down the road that time by. 2 tenths quicker than Rasmussen, but that, of course, was including the overtake. So, yeah, Rasmussen pretty much even through the rest of the lap that time by. Richard Alsop's back in pit lane, so his tough night continues. We've basically got 11th up still running on the pace, and 12th down are either in pit lane or a lap or more down. So yeah, 11 cars still running on the lead lap for now. And let's have a quick run through then no standing. So Peter Berriman still leading up front, 3.82 seconds down the road of Kevin Ellis Jr. in second, Alex Simpson in third with Paul Ilbrick in fourth, Nicholas Rasmussen as we're looking at in fifth with Brian Lockwood in sixth, Michael Ivdoka in seventh with David Waterbowles in eighth, Trevor Clement in ninth, Paul Gosling in 10th, and just as I get to him, perfect timing, Miles, 11th position there, spinning on the curb there is yeah, the last of the guys on the lead lap.
Yeah, we'll try to stay on the lead lap with Will Miles. We'll want to get that pole position because, of course, 11 drivers. Minimum reverse grid is 12, I believe. And so he, yeah, will be the de facto pole sitter for race 2 of the evening. Here's 18 seconds off Paul Gisling. Oh, minimum is 14 apparently. So even more so, he will be on pole position for race 2 as long as he just keeps it clean. Can use a faster pair though, but needs to make sure that he stays on the lead lap. So, any potential battles brewing out there? It seems to kind of calm down quite a bit as Clermont has a bit of an issue. If he keeps on making mistakes, then Paul Gosling might get quite close to him in the battle for 9th and 10th. In fact, that's now down to 5 seconds between the two of them. Lockwood and Rasmussen still about 5.5 seconds between those two drivers. Ilbrink just set the fastest lap of the race. It was 7 tenths faster than Alex Simpson on that last lap. So that could be brewing currently.
Yeah, less than 2 seconds between them. So for sure, Alex is going to be on that. He knows that Paul Ilbrink is closing. Ilbrink's gained 9 spots from his grid position. Alex has gained 6. But as you say, if they continue at that pace, it's only going to be another couple of laps, and Alex is going to have a mirror full of radicals online with him.
You can see Rasmussen just losing touch at the moment, up to 1.6 seconds, but currently those top 5 kind of in a league of their own. Own drivers in the 36s. I'm sure Lockwood ought to be a little bit faster than that, maybe carrying a little bit of damage currently. He will certainly be looking good for race 2, seeing that he'll be starting ahead. And yeah, just yeah, currently the bit of calm in the storm currently as Ilbrink, yeah, just maintaining the gap in the second half of that lap. On that lap overall, though, he was a further 4 tenths of a second quicker. This time, Berryman, the fastest driver on circuit, he was, yeah, he sets the fastest lap of the races. Lockwood, I called upon him, and he's now set the fastest lap of the race. So, well, if this was F1, I guess this would count for quite a bit, saying the new rule change. Certainly know
Yes.
some drivers.
Yeah, absolutely. So top 10 positions in F1, it's been announced, hasn't it? Yeah, fastest lap will gain 1 point. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out through the season. I'm not sure it's going to really make much of a difference, but just could be a bit more entertaining in the last few laps when a couple of guys gun it maybe. But yeah, for sure, the guys are starting to go quicker now. We're seeing the track temperature just dropping a little bit, and so pretty much the whole field, I'm seeing green times all throughout. And yeah, the guys just feeling a little bit more comfortable, and presumably a lot of it is that traction on exits where we've been seeing them struggling. So hopefully it continues to get easier. It'll be interesting to see what the conditions are like for race 2 as well, and whether that is a bit more straightforward for the guys, or even trickier still. Which I say we've seen how many unforced errors there have already been through the race.
Yeah, I
Peter
remember.
Berriman there stroking at home at the minute.
Yeah, at the moment. Yeah, 4.2 seconds ahead. His teammate Kevin Ellis. I remember Silverstone earlier on in the season. I believe that was round 2 of the championship. We had, I'd say, probably 60% of the drivers having a spin, and quite a few of
Wow.
those 60% having 2 or 3 spins. And these were quality drivers. You know, drivers in. I think Alsop had a couple of spins, and quite a few other top drivers had issues out there. And that was similar conditions to this actually in the 40-degree range. I think it's is it the summer? It's 15th of May. So well, if we had Marco Balbinier in the commentary booth, he could say whether this is realistic weather or not. I do. Certainly, something that I'd like to be implemented is, of course, now that we've got the calendar for iRacing, there should be a wider range of temperatures available. So going down to about 0 degrees, of course, for the UK around Snetterton and Silverstone and such, would be much more realistic than 18 degrees in January, of course. But yeah, hopefully something that maybe they'll add soon because the new tire model should improve these maybe flaws with these extreme temperatures, and so should improve the racing quite a bit, and maybe improve the quality of this car as well, particularly single seated. Maybe need a little bit of a boost at the moment. As yeah, just moving on to lap 15. About 7.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, so it seems like the feedback through new time model 7 has been pretty positive overall from what I hear. It sounds like they've taken a good attitude to it as well by really opening up the tire pressure ranges that you can use to really see how the tire model copes with sort of those extremes, and so hopefully it'll help them to improve it further when they narrow it back down to more realistic sort of settings. And yeah, other single seaters especially like this, hopefully it will be a world of difference for them. But for sure, it'd be nice for this amazing F3 car that everyone's been waiting for and hoping for so long to become a bit more popular and a bit more drivable. As you say, when you see world championship standard drivers struggling to keep it on the straight and narrow, you know something isn't quite right, unfortunately. Minute ago, Peter Berriman, fastest lap of the race again, so we're still seeing these improvements in time purple sectors, 36.02, so not quite scraping the 1 minute 35 lap that time by. And how has that battle gone between Ilbrink and Simpson? So
Ilbrink
Ilbrink
just
dropped off a
made a
little bit, actually, didn't he?
Yeah, Ilbrink made a mistake, lost about a second a couple of laps ago, and that's just relieved the pressure on Simpson. You think if it weren't from that mistake, he would probably be within about a second right now. But instead, it's currently 2 seconds. So Simpson still hoping for that first Apex Racing UK 1, 2, 3 of the season. So far, I think Ilbrink has spoiled that party quite a few times. He's had a nice run of third positions recently, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to challenge this time. As yeah, gap down to 2 seconds. So he's still taking a few tenths off, but only 5.5 minutes to go to catch. Track temperature down to 41 degrees. I'm sure these drivers won't notice too much because they can't tell what the track temperature is. Now, the surprising feature I'd say on iRacing is the fact that you can't see a track temperature as you're driving around, but arguably it's perhaps a little bit better than that. No placebo effects, thinking that you're going to get a little bit more grip due to the track decreasing in temperature. But maybe lap times might improve ever so slightly. You can see Rasmussen still staying relatively close, 10 seconds back to Docker. And pretty much behind that, all the gaps about maintained. Because we also saw Matt Bunn coming back out onto the circuit. He said earlier on how he thought that the garage was open. But so he should know from his years of experience in iRacing. I don't think the garages are ever open in iRacing, at least from my experience.
I guess
Do you
he
know?
just forgot to bring his garage opener remote into the car before he loaded up the session, maybe. So yeah, Paul Leobrink last time by 10th and a half quicker than Simpson again, so he closed up a little bit, but he really is running out of time and laps now if he does want to try and break up that Apex Racing UK party at the front. Down to 1.88 seconds now between him and Ilbrink, as we see Ilbrink now, coming towards the back of the circuit. Last two corners through the Rivazza. And last time by, he used the Astro on the exit here and a lot more. How wide does he go this time? Takes it a lot more cautiously. Kicked up a huge plume of grass last time by. What are their lap times like on this one? Alex Simpson, as he crosses the line, gets a 36.41, and Paul Ilbrink 36.24. So, yeah, 10th and a half again.
Yeah, and they're both closing in on Ellis. They're still 2.5 seconds ahead of Simpson. It's a bit annoying actually because Ilbrink is kind of matching Pete Bayman's times. Admittedly, Ilbrink is having to push as hard as he possibly can, as we
Ooh.
just see then. Mistakes like that costing him another 8 tenths of a second. That I think that might just beat the chase over for him now with 3.5 minutes to go. But apart from those mistakes, he's been matching the race leaders' times. Admittedly, Pete Bayman very much cruising to this race victory right now. It shows how these drivers, maybe a little bit further down the field, do have the potential to take on Pete Bayman, and hopefully we'll see that materialize in race 2. Because as we've seen so far in this race, not necessarily overtaking the easiest job for these drivers. So maybe with the likes of Rasmussen and Ilbrink starting further up than the Apex Racing UK cars, they might have a better chance at challenging for the win. As Bowman will have 2 more laps to go. He'll just miss out on 3. He'll have 2 more laps to go to the checker flag.
Yeah, and the racing network guys at the back of the field are for sure going to be kicking themselves for errors earlier on. They're running a strong pace still. Brian Lockwood, last time by 36.09, just 700ths off the fastest lap from Peter Berriman. So he knows he's got the pace if he can just continue a nice clear lap.
Yeah, I think yeah, Lockwood and Alsop did come out for a little bit after their crashes. And like you said, Lee had very good pace while still out there. But I think realizing now that they can't be eligible for the reverse grid, I don't know why they didn't just take a fast repair, to be honest. I know Richard, I think, won the race at Road America earlier on in the season, race 2 there, by just finishing last, basically, in race 1 and getting the reverse grid for race 2. So I don't know why he didn't just carry on his way because yeah, race 2 for him is going to be very, very difficult. But you wouldn't necessarily rule him out, rule Lockwood or Alsop out of a potential win in race 2 because they are so strong. And of course, they're only going to be starting slightly behind the likes of Bayman and Ellis. So yeah, Clately will finish on the lead lap. He's only about a tenth of a lap clear. You'll see Bayman just coming out of the Ravazza in a few moments' time to start his final lap. He will be eligible. Should come on pole position as well. It'll be difficult for him to hold on to those places for the full half an hour because in this half now we have seen Peter Bowman absolutely dominate. He's now 7 seconds clear of the rest of the field. And after a couple of difficult weeks for Bayman, admittedly still churning in the podium results, but certainly his race wins aren't coming as readily as they were earlier on in the season. Certainly normal service resumed here in race 1 at Imola with the racing network making mistakes. And since then, he's just been able to cruise about his way. Clearly got a pace advantage over his teammates. As Paul Ilvik now sets the fastest lap of the race, a 36 dead. He's got the gap back down to 1.2 seconds. Incredibly frustrating because those two mistakes have cost him at least 1.5 seconds, probably more like 2 seconds. And he's only 1.5 seconds behind right now. He'd be right on Alex Simpson if he'd just been able to keep that pace up a little bit more consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. So not quite going to be able to get there in the end from the looks of it, as Ilbrink here still pushing up, kicking up grass on the entry to that super fast sweeping left hander there, Paratella, as we were saying earlier on. And yeah, so certainly giving it all, not giving up yet, down to 1.3 seconds now. So I dare say Alex is being the numbers man that he is, and just knows that he doesn't need to take any risks and that he can allow a couple of attempts here and there to ebb away. But for sure, it's getting close. So Peter Berriman then coming out of the final corner onto the front straight, pretty much looked untroubled from the start and takes a victory for race 1.
Yeah, awesome drive from Peter Bayman. And yeah, once he got in the lead then, once Kevin S. Jr. and the Racing Network drivers started racing against one another, he sprinted out in the lead and wins race 1 by 6.5 seconds. Ellis then in second position. Simpson will hold on to third, only 1.1 seconds clear in the end of Ilbrink at the line. Rasmussen will be a strong fifth with Eptoka in sixth. And yeah, the others just going to cross the line now. So yeah, for race 2, could be an interesting one, I think. I think maybe, I think most likely that we're going to see the likes of Bayman and Ellis and even Lockwood and Alsop probably making their way up to the front. But I think it's going to be about keeping your clean car, your car clean, apologies, during those overtakes and in those opening laps, which could prove decisive.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very different race, isn't it? We could see that, from sort of 7-8 minutes into the race, it really did sort of quieten up, and it was because so many people were running such similar lap times. So next race then, reverse grid. If they're running similar lap times, we're going to get some seriously close racing, as people are just trying to find those little tenths here and there. So it could be something very, very different as we see the Apex guys getting a little sort of photo moment, all lining up from their lockout for the season. You said that's the first 1, 2, 3 that they've managed for the season, Sam.
Yeah, I think it is. And yeah, so well done to them. Poor Ilbrink trying to spoil the photo,
Yeah,
as
yeah,
any
didn't get the
racing
memo.
driver would. As also Nicholas Efferson around there as well. But it's a nice opportunity to take a photo of all 5 of them. So absolutely fantastic. And yeah, will we see the same top drivers in race 2 as well? We'll have to wait and see. As I think we can now go through the final results. So it's Peter Bayman winning out 6.5 seconds ahead of Kevin Ellis. Third position was Alex Simpson. Of course, Apex Racing 1, 2, 3. Yeah, of course it's Apex Racing Team. I've been calling them Apex Racing UK this entire time. And of course they're not anymore. At least I don't think they are in this championship. They are Apex Racing Team instead. Paul Ilbrink finishes in 4th with Nicholas Jefferson in 5th. Michael Abdotko went from 10th to 6th with David Witzbols in 7th. Trevor Clement finishes in 8th with Paul Gosling in 9th. Miles Clatesley finished in 10th. And then the retirees were Lockwood, Alsop, Rayfield, Bunn, and Halliburton. So Sam, whilst this reverse grid is quite inevitable, we'll still spin the reverse grid wheel because we absolutely love doing so.
Yeah, of course. I think we spun it last week as well. So why not do it again? But let's see what we could have done. Well, it will be 14.
14, so the smallest possible.
Yes.
But that still means that Miles Clatesley will be on pole position. Paul Gosling will be alongside him on that front row. And then, of course, Peter Bayman will be starting in 10th position. Lockwood and Alsop in 11th and 12th. So it is pretty much a complete fair reverse grid, I must say, with Halliburton starting right at the back as well. So pretty much is what the grid ought to be. So with the fast guys at the back, the slower guys near the front. So it should be good fun. That race will be back in about 20 minutes time for race 2 of the evening in the World F3 Championship.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Hi there, I'm Richard Jobling, Senior Software Engineer here at iRacing. I'd like to show you some of the work that we've been doing to improve the collision and the damage in our sim. One of the major changes we've made is how our collision systems work. The old system stored the track as parametric surfaces, and the cars were made of collections of spheres. As the cars moved around the track, we would recompute planes using the track surfaces and then test those against the spheres. This worked well for spheres, but was too specialized to adapt to our shapes. So for the new system, we've built new high-resolution meshes for each track. This is more efficient and gives us a lot more flexibility for the car shapes. The new mesh incorporates all the track features our guys worked so hard to replicate. Things like curb geometry and changes in the surface material are all baked into the mesh. We've also taken our laser scan data and applied that to the mesh. And since the mesh is so high resolution, we capture all the detail that's necessary so that the tracks are just like the real thing. With our new mesh, we can now represent cars using smooth, convex hulls, which grouped together form the chassis, the bodywork, and all the other parts of the car. The new shapes are a much closer fit to the shape of the real car. During impacts, the shapes can deform according to the damage, and eventually they can break off as separate objects. All the parts, like wings, hoods, and wheels, can also hang from their joints, flapping and vibrating until they eventually snap off. All these changes are going to add a whole new level of realism to our races. If you want to find out more, please visit iRacing.com and check out my blog post for lots more details.
Hi, my name is Greg Hill. I'm the Vice President of Art and Production here at iRacing. This damage project that we've been discussing is certainly a project that involved all hands on deck to pull off. We've got a rather sizable number of cars in our portfolio, and not all of these cars have been built with this dynamic damage system in mind. So what we had to do is one by one go through our race cars, and we had a team of 3 artists, a highly technical modeler, our technical art director, and our associate art director. All took on each car one at a time, and the work involved was researching that car, researching what would happen to that car if it were in a crash, depending on the forces involved in the crash, how severely it would be damaged, what parts might come off, what those pieces might look like when they're removed, what it would look like where the car has areas exposed that were previously covered by bodywork. So they had to do a lot of modeling to each race car, and they had to do a lot of work to essentially set up how the car would react to forces. So essentially setting the strength of the materials. What kind of force would it take to rip off the side pod, for example? Or under what circumstances would this nose cone get ripped off of a car? Or under which would it remain, but just be badly damaged? But all said, it's been a lot of work, but seeing the car models interact with the physics system and the new crash dynamics is really exciting and really cool to see, and definitely makes all that hard work worth it.
Hi, my name is Jose Diaz. I'm a visual effects artist at iRacing. I specialize in particle effects ranging from fireworks to water fountains, debris, crash, impacts, all in the service of improving the driving experience. So you have the main sort of new damage model that Richard's been working on. So that takes into consideration all the mounts and the chassis from the cars and which materials they are. And he's making all the calculations that tell you like, okay, it got hit from this one side and the strength of that impact is this certain amount of values. If you hit something, that means that this mount gets off, something breaks. This gets added on top of that to sort of complement what is happening there with things that you would see in real life when a car crashes. So typically in a car crash, you will see all these little particles of dust, metal, scratches that will take all that force and momentum and kind of explode in a way. And it's all being driven by how fast the car was coming, how hard the impact was against what. That will give you that sense of like, man, that person really crashed hard or, oh, it was just a small bump.
Hi, my name is Chris Lurch. I'm one of the vehicle dynamicists here at iRacing. Our role in the collision project is to tune the collision properties of each and every car to ensure that they behave in wrecks as a real car would. And we've spent quite a bit of time going through literature from the automotive industry on the subject to make sure that we have panels that deform the way they're supposed to, both temporarily and permanently, that pieces that don't deform but rather just break at appropriate times in appropriate ways. The cars are absorbing energy the way they should and aren't sort of bouncing off the walls in crazy ways. The major properties that we look at are stiffnesses, which is how much a piece of the car deforms when a load is applied to it. And then we look at a couple of limits. One is the force limit beyond which the piece deforms permanently. And then the second limit that we look at is the brake limit, the force limit beyond which the piece will simply break. And then we also will look at damping, which is how much the piece absorbs energy versus how much it takes like a spring and can absorb as potential energy and then rebound back out like a basketball would.
We're almost out of fuel. You'll have to come in for a splash. Three, two, one, now. All clear. Punch it. Great job. You did really well.
Welcome back to the World F3 Championship live on Apex Racing TV. Once again, I'm Sam Fitzpatrick, and once again, I'm joined alongside by Lee Thompson with Sam Kumo on the cameras, and we're about to get underway for race 2 of the evening. Miles Clotesley starts on pole position with Paul Gosling alongside him. Pete Spayman, race 1 winner, starts in 10th position. We are about to get the lights on the screen now. Race 2 here at Imola, about to get underway. And away we go in Italy. And it's a really good start for Clotesley. Gosling's going to be under big pressure straight away from Clement and Witterbols as well. If anything, might even be 3 wide going into turn 1. Are we going to see any issues? Deep on the brakes goes Clement. He's been able to make that move at least. Witterbols moving ahead of Gosling as well. Doesn't seem to have been any issues out there so far. Bayman up 3 positions already. What a start for the race 1 winner. And I think he's still trying to gain more positions as we go through the Villeneuve chicane right now. Clement maybe having a bit of a poor exit there. Witterbols now moves up into 2nd position, and Evdoka just moving ahead of Gosling as well. You can see I was almost 2 by 2 down the entire rest of the field. You got, I think, Ellis and Ilbrink side by side in there as well. Rasmussen and Bayman are side by side, and Rasmussen in fact just moving another position up as well, moving up ahead of Gosling. Bayman now following through as well, and well, this could be a little bit awkward going into Aqua Minerale. You can see them eventually all going into single file.
Yeah, it was an awful start from Gosling. Lost 2 spots straight away. Spun up rears and just went backwards. Contact from Kane Halliburton. He is in pit lane. Instant on that opening lap as well.
Yeah, Gosling continuing
And
to lose positions.
yeah, Ilbrink about to, as you say, get that move on Gosling as well. A little bit of bottleneck, unfortunately, for the guys, but Gosling's going to have the inside now into the penultimate corner. Gets that spot. Apex car behind of Simpson does, in fact, get a move. I was just about to say, can't follow him through. And I looked to the timing screen and look back, and he has made that move. So Gosling, unfortunately, from second down to it's about to be 13th or 14th by the time one lap's completed. Lockwood falling down as well. Lockwood's had an incident.
Yeah, a few drivers just getting away a little bit slowly as we see 3 wide going into turn 1. Surely this can't end well, but eventually they do just about get the Matt Bunn up 4 positions. He's up the joint most amount of positions of anyone. So you're absolutely right with Alsop failing to make much progress, and so too Lockwood as well, as Bayman moves ahead of Rasmussen. And look back,
Ooh,
and
spin.
and Bunn's on spun it. So once again, a big up Matt Bunn, and he absolutely shows me to be an idiot. As around the outside there goes Bayman. Can Rasmussen respond? You doubt he'll put up too much of a fight. He just wants to carry on accumulating these points, Rasmussen. But he's run wide now. Maybe just getting to the turbulent air of the car ahead. Was no opportunity for Ellis to make the move around this part. So as we see
Ooh.
off goes
Trevor
Clement.
Clement.
He made a couple of mistakes in race 1, and that is a very crucial one at the start of race 2. And it's sent him from 3rd position down to 13th.
Yeah, fortunate for Clement there. He had a good opening lap and was in a pretty strong position as Rasmussen, and lots of expression from Kevin Ellis, tries to defend, but ultimately has to take his race in line, allows Ellis the inside line into the penultimate corner, and pretty clean move in the end there from Ellis as he goes chasing after his compatriot for 4th position. So Close still doing a decent job at the front, half second ahead of Whittleball still.
Once again, Rasmussen trying to retaliate. We saw this same fight in race 1 against someone. I can't remember who it was. As down the inside he goes. He's going to try to keep his nose in here. It's Rasmussen, but so much more confidence for Kevin Ellis. And he swoops around the outside to consolidate that 5th position. That little extra fight hasn't really helped them too much, as Docker going to lose out to Bayman. Will he keep his nose in there? This is very dangerous for Bayman right now. Doesn't want to get involved in a collision. He is going to have the inside for the hairpin at least. But Michael Docker really proving to be a tricky customer. And look how close now the rest of the field are to these two. Once again, Docker getting into the section. Will look to the inside into Piatella as down the inside he goes, but Bayman once again super confident. Now Ellis will try to go down the inside into Acca Minerale. This is a very dangerous place to overtake. Docker around the outside through the first part. He will try to stick around the outside through the second part. Just about don't make contact on the exit. And in the end, this fight from Michael Docker has really not worked out for him, because you can see he's almost lost 5 positions in just a few corners.
Oh, and very, very close up over the curves was Udoka and Simpson there as well. And just about get away with it with Rasmussen behind as well. But yeah, Doka did a decent job earlier on in the lap there against Berryman. Did a good job to try and hold a tighter line on exit, not to cause a collision. So we've got a change position for the lead. Witterbowles takes the position from Klotzley. And yeah, we saw it as half a second gap a minute ago, I said. And yeah, an issue there at some point around the lap has changed that. But almost contact onto the grass goes Klotzley as they head towards turn 1. Witterbowles defends hard, takes that inside line, and I think he's going to have that position secured for the minute. So yeah, looks a bit tasty down the front straight, but now they can just have a breather.
Oh, spin for Bayman. Gosh, he was well on course for taking yet another double in the World F3 Championship. It looked as though it was just coming right his way. He didn't have to do anything spectacular, but it's a complete unforced error from the Northern Irishman. As well, we'll see what happened here. Did he take too much curve? Is he going to spin up the rear tyres again? There's a mixture.
Yeah, a little bit of sausage curb, I think, on that second apex. You could really see how the car reacted, and it just takes so long for the suspension to settle back down the rebound. And yeah, Berryman just couldn't keep control of it, as Ilbrink then into the wall after on the same replay. Damaged nose. So that's Ilbrink and Berryman making errors within 2 corners of each other. And yeah, that leaves them 9th and 10th. And Ilbrink needing a trip to the pits.
Yeah, I think that's...
Brian Lookwood all of a sudden's up in 4th position, 5th position, battling with Alex Simpson.
Oh,
Alex
not
takes
anymore.
a huge chunk of curb on the inside, clatters into the side of Lockwood. And it'll be interesting when Samuli brings up a replay. There we go, right on cue. He's a second ahead of me to see how that develops. So Simpson got the inside line early on, and it's just 2 into 1. Doesn't really go. Camera angle just about gives us time to have a look, and it's just Alex took a bit of too much inside curb to try and allow the space, but he knew that they couldn't both fit into that same apex.
Yeah,
But yeah, Lockwood had gone from 12th to 4th in like 2 laps.
Yeah, and well, that's the state of his car right now. Must say, very impressed by the iRacing damage model with these parts flying off the car, the rear wing, and of course the front wing for Paul Ilbrink. And well, you can see this battle still going on. Ellis now in a great position to win this race. Here comes Rasmussen. Oh, and there's more contact. It's absolute anarchy right now. Michael Abdoka this time the casualty. And,
yeah, it'll be interesting when we get our second view of that again to see where that really came from. Maybe it just looked a little bit ambitious from Ellis, was it? Just caught out on difference on apex speed. It's such a tricky entry into that chicane. It's so fast for that first apex. You do all your slowing like mid corner, ready for the next part of the apex. And I bet there's just a difference in apex speed lap to lap, and it just caught Ellis out. He just needed to. You've just allowed that little bit more space.
I think that was Bayman on that occasion.
Oh, sorry, my mistake. Sorry, Bayman.
Yeah, of course, Bayman had overtaken Abduka already. You can see the damage now on that front wing. Could he still win this race? Well, he's 8.5 seconds off Kevin Nash. Still Davey Witzbols leading the way. I believe these are the first lap that Witzbols has led all season, as Bayman trying to get past Alsop, and Alsop not really putting up much of a fight, considering Alsop was on pole position for much of qualifying earlier on. I'm surprised he can't put up more of a defense there, maybe carrying a bit of damage himself, although I doubt he's carrying much more damage than Bayman, considering the amount of seeing the battles that he's been in so far in this race. As Alsop goes to the outside, he's going to try to retaliate this time. Just pulls ahead, and in fact that outside line working fantastic again. And well, the championship leader looking a bit like an amateur there, despite being one of the pros out of the field. And Richard Alsop swooping around the outside. I feel as though he's going to be a sitting duck later on in the lap, because Bayman seems to have the advantage. But very nicely done there from Richard.
Yeah, absolute cracking move. I wonder if Berriman's got a little bit of damage. He seemed to struggle then in the next 2 corners, and whether that was just dirty air or whether that's a little bit of aero damage, perhaps we'll see as the laps develop. But it's certainly right in the gearbox still for now, and this is really the battle on track at the minute as we stay live with with that battle. So just 10.5, 2 tenths between the guys. And Berriman's looking all right. Missed a tiny bit of apex on that second apex there, but yeah, doesn't look like he's really suffering with any real damage. He's going to just want to be patient and wait for the start-finish line, and he should be in a strong position to use that toe that we've seen is pretty effective around this track with these cars.
Yeah, seen plenty of overtakes using that method as he goes in, going into the Rivatsa. And yeah, he's just lining this one up this time. You kind of want to be behind actually at this point in the lap, because we've seen so far today it's really difficult to defend going into turn 1 in this Formula 3 car. Usually it's incredibly difficult to overtake in prototypes and GT cars, but in these single-seaters, the outside line often carries a little bit more confidence, and well, it's pretty much the same positions as they were on the last lap, but the other way round, and well, pretty much the same results, but the other way round this time, because Peter Bayman swoops around the outside. And certainly worth keeping in mind that for the future battles, maybe that outside line there not to defend whatsoever into that corner, because Bayman made that look easy. Now 2 seconds to catch up to Niklas Rasmussen, which should be pretty simple, and 5.5 seconds to catch up to Miles Clotesley as well. Wouldn't actually bet against him maybe finishing in the top 2 in this race, because Davey Witzbols is 10 seconds up the road. We hear a spin. Ilbrink or Clermont?
Yeah, Clermont,
Neither.
I think Samuli initially thought that's who we cut to, but they both seem to be running fine for now. But for sure, somebody was in trouble for a minute. Peter Berryman driving away now from Richard Alsop. He's put 6/10 on him in this section of the lap. Back at the front, Witterballs is still doing well, holding on to this lead. Obviously, Kevin Ellis' unit is coming pretty quickly, but we've still got 1.2 second gap for the minute. I dare say Witterballs got a pretty decent chance of holding on to second for a fair amount of time. If and when Ellis gets past, it's then going to be a further 4.5 seconds back to Miles and a further 2.7 seconds back to Rasmussen. So second position could be still looking on if he can continue the strong start to race and keep it clean.
Yeah, incredible
Actually,
performances from.
sorry, Sam. Actually, good lap that time by. He was only 2/10 slower than Ellis that time by.
Yeah, awesome performance so far from Davey Witz, a driver who joined midway through the season. Yeah, very pleased to have him in the championship. I think he took a bit of a break actually from iRacing for a while, but well and truly back now, and he's potentially going to be leading at the halfway point in this 30-minute race, which would be quite some effort, especially considering that he was only starting on the second row of the grid. Closely also doing an awesome job. Lost out to Witzballs and Ellis earlier on in the race, but in 38s currently, you think the fastest drivers are just dipping into the 36s, but certainly not a bad effort. This field certainly getting more competitive as the season goes on, and as these drivers kind of learn a bit more experience about the cars. Michael Evdoka has a big off in the final corner, and he's going to reverse it into the pits. Well, he's kind of embarrassed himself there. He's trying to bring it back with some style.
Good
in
effort.
the pit lane, but unfortunately he's crashed and he's made the situation a whole lot worse for himself. Can't do a spin turn because there's not enough space there. Gladly for him, we cut away, reduce his embarrassment, and instead tries to embarrass Richard Alsop instead, who has had a spin and only just ahead of Alex Simpson now in sixth position, as the leaders get very close, and also Rasmussen and Bayman get very close.
Has a big moment over the curb there, holds it together, nice little drift as he heads over the start finish line. Quick shout out to Joe Roberto, thanks very much for the subscription on YouTube. As we see Rasmussen defending hard from Peter Berryman, dives up the inside, and Rasmussen pretty easy on the brakes and allowed Berryman in that position, and up into fourth place, hunting down Miles closely now for the final podium spot.
Yeah, and if anything happens to these top two, could still have a double. You'd think how this double was pretty much on a platter for him earlier on. It would be great to have a chat with him later on, just because he'll be quite seething, I imagine, right now, because just questioning how he can make such a mistake. As Witzballs, only half a second clear of Ellis now. Ellis on that last lap, 0.6 of a second faster. And if you were Witzballs in this situation, would you be defending from Ellis, or would you just let him have it and try to hold on to second place?
I mean, there is only 5 minutes left, so to be
15.
fair. Sorry, 15 minutes left. If there was only 5 minutes left, Sam, then I would probably put up quite a fight. But being that we're just coming up to halfway through the race, I think he knows it's an impossible job. So maybe the best thing is not to lose time to Klutzley back in third, or risk having a spin or something, and just see how long he can hang in Ellis's coattail. So here comes Ellis then in the slipstream, moves to what's going to be the inside for turn one, and the Tamburello, and he's going to pretty much have that move done before they get to a braking zone. Witterballs, almost made it to halfway before having to relinquish that spot, but now he just needs to focus on keeping his rhythm, and he can get that hang on rather to that second position. And a quick shout out to Michelle for the follow on Twitch. Don't forget we simultaneously stream most of our broadcasts YouTube and Twitch and Facebook, and so you can use your platform of choice.
As Rasmussen moves ahead of Closely, so Closely was of course overtaken by Bayman, and now Rasmussen makes his move as well. Alsop had to come into the pits. Quite sure why. He's lost out to Simpson and Clement and Ilbrink and Rayfield because of it. but he might be able to catch up to Rayfield and Ilbing by the end of this race again. But certainly not a very good day for the Racing Network, especially considering that for much of qualifying, oh well, no, that's how he that's how he spun it earlier on. Sorry, I thought that was live. And yeah, considering that they were locking up the front row of the grid for much of qualifying earlier on, it looked as though they might be able to really challenge for some race wins today. Seems as though that's not going to be the case anymore. And well, only looking as though they're going to finish one race out of the two of them with the two drivers as well. Josh Rayfield going wide. Will Alsop be able to make this move? Nope. The Northern Lights Racing GT Omega car. No offense, GT, if that stands for Grand Touring, not really appropriate in this car, but I'm not going to criticize too much. As down the inside goes Alsop, and that's a nice move. Nice boom left there from Rayfield. So he's now got 5 seconds to catch up to Paul Ilbing, and you consider how quick all has been so far today. Doubt he's going to be able to catch up to that one. But he's 23 seconds behind Phil Clement. I don't think he's going to catch up to Monty either, so it might be a bit of a dull final 13 minutes of the race for him. As yeah, how close is Whitballs to Bayman? Down to just 5 seconds now between the two of them, and on that last lap, Bayman was 2 seconds faster. So I think it's quite inevitable that Bayman's going to catch. You know, Bayman's only going to be, I reckon, about 2 seconds off Kevin Ellis by the end of this race. That's the amount of pace the Apex Racing UK driver has.
Or as we see Waterballs locking up rears on the downshifts, just about managing to catch the slide and make the Apex still continuing on. He hasn't dropped off super quick from the back of Ellis's last time by, so he's trying to do his best to hang in there. But as you say, it's just going to be a matter of time until Berryman continues to hunt him down. So yeah, standings at the minute, Kevin Ellis Jr. leading out front by 2.34 seconds. Davey Whittaball's then who we're looking at in that second position. Peter Berryman a further 4 seconds back in third as Miles Klotsley spins from 4th position. And unfortunately, it was looking like he was having a strong result as Trevor Clement as well was recovering in 7th. So was that contact between the two of them? I don't think it was. I think it's different parts of the circuit. Yeah, it's different sections of the circuit from the looks of it. So yeah, those two both having issues, and that promotes Rasmussen and Simpson up to 4th and 5th.
Yeah, disappointing for Miles there, but it was... was he going to be able to hold on to that one? Probably was going to lose out to Simpson, I think, eventually. Just about keeping the car clean out to the end. So 6th position would be a nice effort for the CQR Sim Sports driver. As Bayman continuing to set fastest laps of the race. 36.39 on that last one. Track temperature, 43 degrees. It got even warmer. Yeah, a few hours later in sim, 3 in the afternoon. So it should get cooler at least from now on. But yeah, clearly no cloud cover whatsoever.
And Peter Berryman having a moment mid-corner there as he worked his way down through the tricky section at the back of the circuit as you kind of sweep down the hill and have to try and get it stopped as you turn into the previous corner. But keeps it on the straight and narrow and manages to continue on, but no doubt lost a little bit of time that time by. So again, we're looking at the intervals and the timing screen as Josh Rayfield, our E-Class driver, has a little issue. Looks like a bit of damage on that front wing, perhaps. Yeah, you can see the right-hand side of it is looking pretty messed up. So he is going to be needing a repair. He's going to struggle to continue on in that 10th position at the minute. Last runners, yeah, 10th place.
Yeah, I remember around this circuit a couple of weeks ago in the race for Alex, which was a fantastic cause and quite exceptional. The money raised for the suicide prevention charity Beautiful Inside and Out. I think that raised something like 3.7 grand or something. Absolutely quite incredible and great to be involved, Apex Racing TV. But yeah, we had a rookie driver in that race, and he was really competitive. I think out of something like the Forza car field, I think he was running in the top half of the grid around the likes of kind of, I think Dalladoni was in there and Jimmy Broadbent as well. He's racing around with those guys. Unfortunately, I think I managed to commentate curse him as Alex Simpson has an off all by himself. Commentator himself. I don't know if he was bigging himself up. That would be quite ironic. But Simpson is bound in 6th position, and he's lost out to Clotesley again.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as yeah, closely back up to fifth. And Ellis Jr. from the lead has a spin, keeps it out the wall, but we see Whittables and Berryman come by. We said Berryman would be catching Ellis Jr., but we said nobody expected it to be quite that quick. So Whittables back into the lead. He has got the lead in the second half of the race after all that. Peter Berryman in second, Ellis in third. As we look at the replay of Ellis, it's going to be on this nasty, nasty chicane as they really have to clamber over those curbs, and it's the second curb. The car just never settles after contact with the curb. It just bounces, 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 and you've got to try and get on the power at some point, and it just spun Ellis around. So down into third.
Well, Pete Raymond looks to say he is going to win this race after all of his issues and a bit of damage as well. But you doubt that unless Whittables can hold up Bayman quite a bit, you doubt Ellis will be able to get back involved in this one. Down to just half a second between the win for Peter Bayman. Of course, a former podium sitter in the World Championship Grand Prix Series, along with Kevin Ellis as well. But I think Bayman got, I want to say, about 5 podiums, I believe. Certainly a couple in 2016. And yeah, I think 2 or 3 in 2018 as well. And he's right on the tail now of Davey Whittables, who has put up a valiant defence and to be 8 minutes away from the checker flag from his debut win in this series. It's an awesome effort, but the Apex Racing team driver is right on his tail, taking a slightly different line, but that's a good exit for for Whittables, and well, he's going to have to wait until turn 1, I think, to show the final blow.
Yeah, we had a great onboard shot there from the nose of Berryman, who could really see the difference in aggression on braking. Berryman was expecting Whittables to brake much, much later for that tight chicane at the Varianta, and almost got caught out and had to sort of jump on the brakes a second time. So here comes Berryman in the draft. Before they even get to the start-finish line, he's pulling up alongside. Whittables, quite rightly, doesn't really put up too much defence again. He knows he's got a sniff of maybe trying to hang on to that second.
Yeah, with the way that these two drivers have been struggling a little bit so far today. Yeah, I think with the way that these couple of drivers have made mistakes so far in this race, I don't know, Whittables could find himself near the, back at the summit of this race once again, as, Ellis will now try to pressurize.
Yeah, so I have returned. Yeah, internet died for all of 5 seconds that time. I was settling in to have a little break, but we're straight back again. So yeah, Berryman then still in the lead, but coming across this little bit of traffic as we look at Kevin Ellis Jr. already up the back of Whittables under the gearbox, and if he wants a sniff of trying to get back on the nose of Berryman, he's going to want to get straight by. He's going to be losing time quickly, and in fact, Whittables is just going to allow him by, is he? Don't think that was a slowdown on the chicane. I think he's just decided he doesn't want the hassle behind it. He wants to really try and make sure that third place is secured. He's got 5.5 seconds back to Nicholas Rasmussen, so he should be safe.
Yeah, really smart driving there from Whittables, because Rasmussen is quicker than him by, I think maybe only about quarters of a second a lap, but, you know, fights a little bit, and certainly a bit of contact will certainly end his chance of a podium. And it would be, well, I think one of the most, of course, no disrespect to Davey or whatever, but no, one of the most surprising podiums of the season, I'd say, and he's got here by pure quality. Really hasn't had too much of a helping hand. The fact that he's within, 2 seconds off the race lead with just 5 minutes to go. Absolutely fantastic for the privateer out there. And I'm sure we'll get an interview with him later on. He does usually join us for an interview, does Davey. And it'll be very interesting to see, to hear his thoughts on this race.
Not many drivers with 2,500 iRacing who can say that they, not only drove in the same races, but actually legitimately battled and, almost beat world championship drivers with 8,500, 7,000 iRacing. Like, that's some damn good going.
Absolutely. Of course, yeah, beating a few of them still, of course, Simpson or Championship driver Rasmussen several times. Close to getting in the World Championship. I certainly believe in 2016, 2017, I think he was missed out on qualification for the World Championship Series by a handful of places. For NHR Esports running well currently, and he's just going to pick up more points. And with issues for Paul Ilbring, he's going to be pretty close to maybe claiming third position in the championship at the close of today. Alex Simpson's going to lose some points, unfortunately, to Nicholas Rasmussen, but can he restrict that loss anymore? Because he's only 2.5 seconds behind Miles Klotze. On that last lap, he was 1 second faster. Let's see what the time is this time. Klotze sets pretty much an identical lap time, and Simpson sets a slightly slower lap time, but still another second taken out of the CQR Sim Sports drivers. So it's going to be close, actually. 3 minutes to go. Think he should have, what, 3 more laps to get it done. Should just about catch him by the end of this race.
Yeah, if Simpson wants a top 5, he needs to make sure he keeps this run going and doesn't make any further errors. It's looking like it's pretty much settled through the rest of the field now, so unless there is a big error elsewhere, I think we're not really going to see too much more movement. So it's all going to be about whether Simpson can get that 5th position from Klutzley, who's only lost 4 spots through the entire race 2 here, so pretty good going from him. And our timing screen, which isn't always completely accurate, only shows he's got 4 off tracks, so he's got a pretty good run through this race and has been doing a good job.
Yeah, if it weren't for that spin, he'd be quite comfortably in this 5th position, would Miles. But as it is, he's having to fight for it still. Of course, we'll just take this opportunity to thank everyone who's tuned in for this race. Hopefully, you've enjoyed the broadcast, enjoyed the series, and of course, if you do want to sign up for this championship, certainly do give it a go. Give the Formula 3 car a go. Of course, very strong field, but still a bit of a mix of abilities, and you'd certainly be very welcome in the championship. And I think to get involved, maybe just check out the World F3 Facebook page, I believe, or contact Matt Bunn or someone like that, or contact us even. We can point you in the correct direction. Of course, also give the Facebook page a like, follow the Twitch channel, and also give the video the YouTube video a like, and also give us a subscribe as well. So yeah, Ilbrink, of course, by himself a little bit at the moment. 15 seconds behind Simpson. He's now only 0.6 of a second behind Klotze. Just thinking how many more laps we've got. We've got 1 more lap to go after this one, so he's got 1.5 laps to get it done. Zach Simpson on that last lap, he took out 1.5 seconds off Miles Klotze. So if Klotze was a little bit quick on that lap, he may have just stood a chance at holding back the Apex Racing team driver. As just running a little bit wide there is Simpson. It's going to compromise his run going into the chicane, and will probably be too far back to go for a move into the Vatsa. And yeah, I think he will certainly be so, but going into turn 1, you should have an awesome opportunity to move ahead of the 226 car. Just all about lining up this exit now. Really deep on the brakes. Once again, those Apex drivers that much more confident on the brakes. It's not going to be the easiest move in the world, but 3.5 of a second behind should at least be alongside going into turn 1.
Yeah, absolutely. Say final lap now that the guys are coming on to, as you're saying, Sam, and Klutzley is certainly going to not give up this position earlier. Look, he's holding that inside line as they give the run. Alex Simpson isn't one for last gasp desperate moves. He likes to be calculated and measured, and he certainly didn't go for a dive bomb or anything through turn 1 there. So that was his best opportunity, been and gone, but not his only opportunity. So you see he's all over the gearbox still of Miles there. And if Miles can keep it clean, it's not going to be easy for Alex to be able to progress by. And so as they come off the hairpin, looks like a decent exit from Simpson. But again, Miles did what he needed to do. Alex isn't going to be in a position on this super fast sweeping left-hander, working their way down the hill to make a move. And this next section was really tricky on the brakes as Peter Berryman comes through now the final corner to take the flag. Race win for race 2. And it wasn't easy. It was eventful for pretty much all the drivers out there. Berryman takes the win after issues for him and Kelly Ellis Jr. finishing down in second position.
Yeah, both of them could have made that a bit easier for themselves. Ellis, yeah, if it weren't for that spin, it certainly feels like he would have won that race. So he'll be regretting that as closely. Well, what an effort! Absolutely awesome drive from pole position. Did have a spin, but recovered well. He's been able to fend off a World Championship driver for a lap or so. He finishes in 5th place. Alex Simpson will be in 6th. I'm sure he'll be a little bit disappointed with that after contact with Brian Lockwood early in the race. Paul Ilbrink will finish in 7th, and then also have Clermont and Rayfield across the line. It all kind of exploded in that race. Lee, in those opening stages, it looked as though it was quite inevitable which way the race was going to go. And then we had Simpson spinning, we had Lockwood spinning, had Bayman spinning as well. And of course, near the end, we had the race-defining moment with Ellis spinning as well. It just shows the difficulty of this car for even these high-quality drivers.
Yeah, for sure. You look at the result and say Apex 1-2, but it wasn't a classic way of getting there. You know, both had incidents and yet still managed to get to the top 2 spots. And I dare say pretty much all the drivers out there probably had a spin, if not half spin. Did we see Rasmussen have a big incident?
I don't think he did.
So
And
maybe
Wittebols
Rasmussen
didn't have an issue either, but I think everyone else
Yep.
did.
Everyone else pretty much spun, right? So yeah, that was I think those guys are glad that Imola is out of the way for these cars. So how much of it was track temperature, how much of it was the car, how much of it is the circuit? Well, we're going to hear a little bit from the drivers shortly, but I think the combination really made life very, very difficult for the guys. And yeah, no doubt they can now be happy that the event is complete.
Yeah, so we can now go through the final results for this evening. As Peter Bayman making it 2 out of 2, as we've already chatted. It wasn't the conventional route. He did make it there to the checkered flag. Kevin Ellis Jr. Was in 2nd position with Davey Wittebols, his debut podium. And what an awesome result it was. Fantastic for Davey. Well done to him finishing on the podium. Nicholas Rasmussen, Mr. Consistent, in 4th. Miles Clotesley, his best result of the season, in 5th. Alex Simpson had a mistake or a collision, more like, in 6th place. Then it was Paul Ilbrink, who had a crash, and it was a heavy crash as well. Had to come into the pits to replace his car. Still finished in 7th though. Trevor Clermont finished in 8th with Josh Rayfield, the final driver on the lead lap in the retirement, with Richard Alsop, Michael Evdoka, Brian Lockwood, Paul Gosling, Matt Bunn, and Kane Halliburton. Once again, Halliburton, bottom of both races. Not a happy day for him. And hopefully we'll have a couple of interviews with the drivers. And yes, we can. So, first up, I think we'll have a chat with Davey Witzbols, because it was an awesome effort from Davey today. That second race, Davey, was, yeah, absolutely incredible. 5 minutes to go, and you were in the race lead.
Yeah, I was in the race lead, but I knew the guys behind me were very fast, and I didn't defend or anything. I just want to drive my race and have the best of possible result that I can have. So yeah, the guys were just too fast, and I struggled in the chicane, and I didn't want to mess up like in the first race. And I want to say I'm sorry for Kane for taking him out of the race.
Yeah, it was still a very smart driven race in the end, and yeah, it's just yeah, really clever to let those drivers pass when you did. You seemed especially strong in this race. Like you said that you were slower than the top 2 drivers, but in the early stages, especially, you were keeping back Kevin quite impressively. Have you had, you know, a good week of running here at Imola? Are you particularly confident around this circuit?
Well, not at all. The track combo, and the car is very difficult. The slightest mistake you make, and you spin around or you crash. Especially for me, it was in the chicane up the hill, the last chicane, very difficult. And then or you spin around, or you have a slow down penalty if you go too wide. So it's very very difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, we head to Donington Park, the Grand Prix circuit. Is that one you've got much experience around, and one that you enjoy? I think, have we still got you, Davey?
I missed something.
Hey,
Thierry.
the next round of the championship is at Donington. Do you like that circuit?
Well, yeah, I like that circuit. I didn't race there much, but yeah, very nice track to drive. I don't know what it will be with this car, but like this week it was hell to drive here. So I hope next week it will be much better.
Yeah, absolutely. And also around this circuit, it's quite a fiddly circuit, but you've also got the long pit straight as well. What kind of downforce were you running? Was it kind of medium or maybe a little bit higher downforce?
Well, I had the high downforce setup, but my wing was pretty low for the high downforce setup. So, but it was a bit a compromise between speed and taking the corners. So my setup was basically high downforce, but the settings on the high downforce trim were very low.
It certainly worked well for you, your debut podium in this series. And before we let you go, Davey, anyone you'd like to thank?
Well, in first place, Ponti Motorsport and Giorgio Ponzi for the support he gave me all the time. And second, Sim Racing Bay for setting up my steering wheel. Also to you guys and to the organization.
Thanks, Davey, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Now, I think we may have lost Lee Thompson again, unfortunately. At least I've seen his connection drop slightly. So I'll take this interview with Alex Simpson. Alex, a mixed day today. We'll get the bad stuff out of the way first. That incident going into the chicane, just take us through it from your perspective.
Yeah, I think 99.9% of it is my fault. I think there. I obviously got a little bump coming off of the corner before, so the car was a bit bogged down. Let Brian get a run to the outside. It's probably not a corner that you want to go too wide and try and do an overtake around the outside, but I knew he was going to do it. I was the one that perhaps could have bailed out of it. But yeah, I decided not to. I felt like I still had the inside, and then of course I snagged the rear brake and sent the car into a little slide, which pushed me a little bit wider than I wanted to, and I hit him. Yeah, so it's my fault. Silly. Quite funny. I was listening to Lee's commentary. He was like, "Oh, he plays it by the numbers and stuff like that," and I certainly didn't play it by the numbers in that one because I knew what was going to happen. I knew there was only one result going into that too wide, that we were going to end up in a pile, and yeah, I still did it. And I don't know if Brian thought the same thing, that if we go through it too wide, we're going to end, and he perhaps thought I was going to bail out of it, but yeah, we didn't. And like I say, I locked up. So yeah, foolish me, and I'm sorry for Brian for collecting it totally all on me.
More on the positive side, we've been talking about Apex. Also, another question: should I be referring to it as Apex Racing UK or Apex Racing Team?
Well, we're finishing the season off as Apex Racing UK in this particular league because we haven't got any updated liveries or anything like that. So yeah, so we're still UK at this point in this league. But yeah, from really we are now Apex Racing Team, or ART if you want to abbreviate it.
Okay, so Apex Racing UK, let's say, did finally get their first 1, 2, 3 of the season, and you must be very pleased with that because whilst the Racing Network, they did have their own issues, and Paul did have a spin as well. it was still pretty fair, and you three, certainly you and Kevin, seemed to be pretty evenly matched. It was a very strong race one for the team.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like we had good pace. We just cruised really. I mean, Kev had a couple of slowdowns. It's fair. He was a little bit quicker than me. He was able to pull away. But yeah, I wasn't attacking curbs and things like that. I mean, you saw what happened in the second race when we started attacking curbs. You know, everybody's spinning out left, right, and centre. And you know, Davey was in here just a moment ago talking about how lethal this combination is, and it is. It's absolutely atrocious. You know, you just like, you know, take a quick look at a curb and the car just like runs off scared, you know. So yeah, it was hell to drive here, and if you're cruising, not pushing too much, it's kind of okay. And I think that's what, you know, everyone just fell off around us in the first race. You know, there was drivers out there quicker than me. But yeah, you got to keep it pointing forward, haven't you? I think, and that's what got us to 1, 2, 3. So you know, there's been other circuits where we've genuinely been first, second, and third sort of fastest drivers on the circuit. So it's a bit odd that, you know, it came today of all the circuits where I definitely didn't feel confident. There was definitely people quicker, but you know, I'll take it. You've got to have a bit of luck, and you've got to focus on just not making mistakes. Sometimes that's what gives you the best results. And perhaps should have done that in race 2. I might have had another 1, 2, 3. You know, but yeah. So just that brain fart, I'm afraid.
Of course, I'm not sure if it's next week or it's in 2 weeks' time, but we head back home to Donington Park GP. Should be good fun, that one. Bit of a kind of similar to this circuit, long corners, and should suit this car really well.
Yeah, I think actually it'll be a really good circuit. I'm just trying to think of any sort of like atrocious curbs and things like that. Even the chicane, if it's the GP one, it's not too bad. It's fairly flat. If it'd been the national, I'd have said we were in trouble. But yeah, so yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's certainly not one of my favourite circuits. Donington, don't know why I just never really gelled with it, but I think it'll make for some good racing because unlike here, it was just so easy to get a run on people. You know, down the straight and get by, you know. So you saw loads of sort of 3 and 4 wide, but I think actually it will make it a little bit tighter. So there'll be some sort of like late moves and things like that. It should be an exciting race.
Yeah, absolutely. We certainly look forward to it on Apex Racing TV. And before we let you go, Alex, any shout-outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, well, to all you guys in the booth for doing the commentary and the stream, to Matt for putting on the series, and all the other league admins for organising it as well. So Simmortal and Social Proof for sponsoring the series, and to obviously Kevin and Peter for doing all the setup work, and our team sponsors as well. So Logitech G and Speed Caf, obviously the new ones to the car, and yeah, great to have those on board. And of course to SDK Gaming and Computers PC Systems.
Thanks, Alex, and we'll see you soon on Apex Racing TV.
Thanks, guys.
I think we have Lee Thompson back.
I'm having troubles tonight. This is an unusual evening, but yeah, I got to miss the dulcet tones of Alex there in the first half.
Oh, honestly, you'll be very pleased. Yeah, so great day of racing. Of course, your first time broadcasting this series. But I feel as though you got a pretty good idea of what this championship is like. It's, of course, some fantastic quality drivers, but this car just brings out some unusual mistakes from them.
Yeah, I think we've almost seen, you know, the worst of the cast tonight. So it's such a so I'll have to listen back to this here how much Alex attributed to car versus track versus sort of track temperature, but I think the combinations, they really made it tough for you guys. So I'll be looking forward to seeing, as you say, at Donington, where they can really maybe get stuck in a little bit more, drive with a bit more confidence, and see a bit more racing. We had a few good battles here and there, but it was just so difficult for the guys. They just had to focus on survival tonight, I think. So yeah, looking forward to seeing more of these F3 cars.
Yeah, absolutely. We should be back next week. I'm a bit confused by the calendar, but the one that we're trusting says that we are back at Donington Park next week for meeting 7 of the World F3 Championship. Of course, tomorrow we have the Sim Racers World Championship. That will once again be myself and also Marco Barbner bringing you the action there. That's something like round 7 of the championship. I really ought to know. And then weekend, I don't think we've got anything on unfortunately. But then on Monday, we'll be heading back to the World GT Championship. And also the Masters and the Rick Tech Sports Car Series. Tuesday, we'll have the Masters again. And then on Wednesday, we should see the return of the iRacing Le Mans Series Championship. And also of course, the return of this series as well at Donington Park. Of course, just a reminder once again, do like the Facebook page, like this video as well on YouTube, and give us a follow on all our different platforms, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch as well. Hopefully you've enjoyed tonight's broadcast, and from me, from Lee, and from Sam as well, we'll say goodbye, and we will see you next time.